Welcome to Have I Got News for You? I'm David Mitchell. In the news this week, in the middle of the Twitter storm over Calais, BBC Breakfast's Naga Munchetti shows her support for Gary Lineker. After a crate of Prozac washes up on a beach, conservationists are concerned over its possible effect on local wildlife. And in Moscow, a KGB target survives an unusually subtle assassination attempt. On Ian's team tonight is a TV presenter and stand-up from New Zealand who described the audience of her first ever Edinburgh Festival show as full of drunk, angry Scottish men. Well, if you insist on doing a morning show. Please welcome Rose Matafeo. And with Paul tonight is a Labour MP who recently resigned from the shadow cabinet and says that in election terms, Labour is not match ready. Unlike the bonfire in his garden with an effigy of Jeremy Corbyn on top. Please welcome Chris Bryant MP. And we start with the bigger stories of the week. Paul and Chris, take a look at this.
Well, that looks like Heathrow. This is a bulldozer that Boris Johnson is obviously going to lie in front of, as he promised.
Oh, no, he's driving it. No,
oh, no, he's driving it. But he's looking for Michael Gove now, I think.
Yes.
That is Zach Goldsmith with a crab. And those are some weird people outside the Palace of Varieties.
So, yes, this is the...
Good news.
Yeah.
Good news for people who live near Gatwick. I mean, I looked at all the arguments, and they are quite complex for should it be Heathrow or should it be somewhere else. And Boris has promised to lie in front of a bulldozer if it's Heathrow, so it's got to be Heathrow, really.
There probably are some other...
So this is the final decision, is it?
There's going to be legal objections, though, aren't there? So people are going to fight this. It's not a foregone conclusion at the moment.
Yes, there's going to be legal objections, and also MPs get to vote on it next year.
Oh, really? We get to vote on something?
Yeah. It'll probably just be MPs get to chat about it, like Philip Green's knighthood.
You're trying to suggest that politicians have no real value in society.
A bit early for that. We'll do that later. There are other objections, environmental objections, and it might not happen. It's got to meet all these requirements.
But aren't there European requirements, so that's not really going to be any...
No, that's not a problem.
So don't the aeroplanes have to go from here to somewhere? So there might still be a European thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It might just be internal flights after Brexit. I don't think anyone's going anywhere, and they're certainly not coming here.
Depends how big it is. Maybe you get a flight from Terminal 6 to Terminal 1. The runway's long enough, they don't even have to take off.
Well, it's going to be a ramp, isn't it?
A ramp?
It's an amazing design, isn't it? The idea we're going to have a runway, and suddenly it's announced, well, it's not, they're going to not put the M25 in a tunnel, they're going to put the runway on a bridge over the M25.
Yeah.
Why wasn't it more part of the discussion that there wasn't room for the runway inside the M25? You'd think that would be a real clincher for Gatwick.
Can I be narrowly parochial for a moment?
Oh, God, is this the Rhondda?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, well, you know, just for the rest of the country, I think you'll find that Gatwick's really on the wrong side of London.
It's the right side of London for most of the rest of the world. How much do you think we'll make from it financially?
Bazillions.
Sorry, how many?
Bazillions.
I thought you said Brazilian.
No, I didn't.
It was just a random thought you were sitting there.
We'll be rich enough for every citizen to get a free waxing. Whether they want it or not.
It's the future for our economy.
Exactly.
I think we could be the waxing hub of the world.
Exactly. We could become the rip-off merchants of the globe.
Yeah.
Suddenly you saw it on teletext at the bottom, didn't you? Coming through.
Who's the guy with the crab?
Zach Goldsmith.
I don't know, I did that. Zach Goldsmith.
Yeah.
Okay, and he is resigned? No? Yeah.
Yep.
He has resigned, yeah.
Because his constituency elected him on the grounds there wouldn't be a third runway at Heathrow.
Right.
So he's resigned.
Okay.
He tried to be mayor of London.
Yes, okay. So now he has a lot more time to catch up on all the Bollywood films he hasn't seen, right?
You got that.
I did get that. That is the worst. I've seen 100% more Bollywood films than him, which is one. He's running as an independent, right?
But
Yeah,
because politics in this country is so mad,
Yeah.
the Conservative Party is not going to stand against him.
Well, the slightly weird thing is that UKIP aren't standing against him either, because Nigel Farage is now backing him. I mean, I don't know how Nigel Farage has got time out from, you know, supporting Donald Trump in the United States of
He can
America.
really pick them, can't he?
Yes, it's really... It's
Zach.
Do you reckon Zach's just like, Nigel, no?
Yes, Boris has been vocal against it, and has he resigned too?
No.
Has he not?
He's written a couple of pieces, one pro...
Didn't David Cameron say that it was in their manifesto? It was kind of no ifs, no buts, there will not be a third runway as well.
Yes, he did, yeah. But unfortunately, the time for blaming him for everything has come to an end.
I don't know.
Not
I think
really.
we should extend it.
Listen, I'm still blaming Mrs. Thatcher for an awful lot. Because you're just kind of quicker, you just get right in there.
Yeah, and it's people can agree on blaming someone who's no longer at all relevant.
Or alive.
Or, yeah. has David Cameron died? Oh, I didn't hear the good news. No, I don't hope David Cameron died. I just wouldn't mind if he did.
We interrupt this programme.
There's been a chillaxing accident in Cornwall.
Yes, he relaxed so much, his whole bowels fell out. This is the news that the government has given the go-ahead for a third runway at Heathrow, ending half a century of delay. The row over Heathrow may yet prove to be the government's undoing. So it's come to this. A 2-mile strip of concrete is now providing more opposition than Jeremy Corbyn. According to the Mail, one consequence of the third runway at Heathrow is that the Queen could receive millions of pounds to soundproof Windsor Castle. I don't mean to be overly pessimistic, but if it's not opening till 2025, it may not be her problem.
That's an appallingly unpatriotic thought.
I don't think the day would come when someone on the BBC would assert that the Queen is not immortal. Ian and Rose, take a look at this.
It's our Prime Minister. That's the French for get lost.
Trying to do a dad joke in Parliament. There we go. No.
That's Juncker. Oh, in, out.
Oh, pick-up artist. There we go. Nicola does not understand roulette.
This is about our attempts to forge a new deal in the bright dawn. It was slightly sad that our Prime Minister went over to the EU meeting and was only allowed in at 1 o'clock in the morning to make a 5-minute speech at dinner. And apparently she was met in dead silence, and then she left again.
Do you know what Jean-Claude Juncker had to say after that?
Someone from the BBC said, you know, what do you think about Theresa May? And he went...
We have that clip.
Oh,
In
good.
fact, it's worth seeing.
Mr Juncker, Ros Atkins, BBC News. Good to see you again. How did the evening go with Theresa May?
It's quite a catchphrase, actually.
You nailed that as well.
Yeah, no, I've been watching him for years.
Do you think he thinks he's got one of those, you know, Christmassy things that you blow and go "Brr" in his mouth? He just forgot to put it in. He's been trying to come out all jolly. Oh, I forgot again.
But I'm amazed she managed to fill the 5 minutes. Because she says she doesn't want to keep up a running commentary on what the policy is or plan or strategy.
There could be a reason for that.
Because there ain't one.
Yeah. Well, she keeps on saying she doesn't want to show her hand. But, like, in poker, you can't, like, just pretend there are cards in your hand. You can't just be like, I've got a good one here. Watch out.
But she keeps on saying, we're going for the best possible deal. And basically, she's not going to say what she wants because she knows that whatever deal she's got at the end will have been the best possible deal that she could have possibly got.
So she's saying, just see what happens.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm going to do.
And by the way, if you're a room full of bankers, I'm quite happy to come along and tell you exactly what I'm about.
Oh, well, yes. This week she suffered an embarrassing bit of leakage, didn't she? A recording of a secret speech that Theresa gave to Goldman Sachs bankers a month before the referendum was leaked to The Guardian. In it, she warned that companies would leave the UK if the country voted for Brexit and that the country would be less safe outside the EU. But why is it? She was against Brexit, so why is it a big deal that it turns out she meant that?
Because she was a bit half-hearted. And there were other people in other parties, weren't there, Chris, who were...
A bit half-hearted. She wasn't a bit
No, I was
half-hearted.
thinking of Jeremy.
I'm still talking about Theresa May, I think
Yeah.
you're fine.
Was she more or less half-hearted than Jeremy Corbyn?
Yes.
These politicians.
I gave a direct answer. It was a yes/no question.
Yeah,
I gave
OK, I'm wise to this.
All right.
Was she more half-hearted than Jeremy Corbyn?
Yes.
Oh, so you like Jeremy Corbyn? He's leading Labour into the wilderness, you fool.
He came up with a joke, though, at question time.
Oh, yeah. It was kind of awkward, though, that joke, wasn't it? It was very just, like, dad jokey.
What was it?
He said that, like Baldrick, Mrs May has got a cunning plan, but it isn't a plan.
And then she came back to him and was like, well, the guy who played him was Labour. That's exactly what she said, right?
Because the thing about her is she's very happy. She doesn't believe in Brexit. People thought, oh, maybe secretly she believed in Brexit, and so it's OK for her to lead a government.
Maybe she's changed her mind.
Or maybe she doesn't care what the government does. She just wants to be Prime Minister of it.
Ah.
So she'll do, you know...
Well, at least she's not like Jeremy in that sense, because he certainly doesn't want to be Prime Minister.
You know,
maybe not.
They're the perfect opponents, aren't they? The person that will be Prime Minister of any government.
And the one who'll be Prime Minister of none.
Yeah, if Labour wins, she could say, Jeremy, don't worry, I'll be Prime Minister. I'll just do the Labour stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in Brexit. I did the Brexit stuff. I can do it all. I'm a session musician, politician. This is the news that Brexit will make us less attractive to foreign investors, less wealthy and less safe. That's according to Theresa May, 5 months ago, speaking at Goldman Sachs. According to a poll quote in The Sun, 47% would still back Leave in another referendum, despite fluctuations in the pound. Ah, yes, fluctuations. One day it's down, the next day it plummets, the next day it's merely down again. According to the Daily Telegraph, Microsoft is set to increase its prices by 22% because of sterling's recent decline. Makes a nice change for Microsoft to look at something and say, oh no, it's crashed. And so on to round 2, and as Halloween season enters its 4th week, and we cover ourselves in spray-on cobwebs out of respect for our American trading partners, let's enter into the spirit of it with the haunted house of news. Fingers on buzzers, see if you can guess what's scaring you.
Oh, no, don't buzz. It means we've got to talk about it.
That's just a wonderful fantasy creation. The legs of a woman and the head of an Oxford English dictionary.
Yeah.
What more could anyone want?
So this is a book that's literally been walking out of the shops. Is that what we're seeing here?
Oh, is it Essex women?
That's it, yes. The term Essex girl is in the dictionary. And this is the news that 2 girls from Essex are trying to get that term removed. Collins defines it as a young working-class woman from the Essex area. Doesn't seem too bad.
That's all right.
Typically considered as being unintelligent, materialistic, devoid of taste, and sexually promiscuous. Why would anyone have a problem with that? According to Natasha Sawkins and Juliet Thomas, who are behind the campaign, Essex girls are pigeonholed. Not heard that one before.
I just love this idea of them complaining. Does Neanderthal man have a say? Does he say, I think I've been ridiculously stereotyped?
He's not really around anymore, whereas women from Essex might consider that if they're born in the county of Essex, they shouldn't all be stigmatised with the same stereotype.
You're probably right.
Yeah, you can't libel the dead, let alone the extinct.
Don't tell me about libel, Mitchell.
I'm giving you a tip. Say what you like about Neanderthals.
Why can't they just take it out? Because who's campaigning to keep that in?
It would certainly be... Well, it's not how things work, is it? It's in the dictionary because it's a term people use. And if people started taking... But people might say, can we take the word poo out of the dictionary? It's not very nice, poo, is it? You know, I don't want to be reminded of poo. Then you just have a dictionary that's got nice words, like peacefully and flower. Who's come out in support of Juliet and Natasha's campaign?
The Archbishop of Canterbury.
No, it was in fact a star of Ian's favourite show, Gemma Collins. Here she is.
It is absolutely outrageous in today's society that the dictionary, which I'm a massive fan of the dictionary, you know, we should be, like, promoting the dictionary anyway because, like, it is such an amazing, like, historical British thing, isn't it?
Every story ever written's in the dictionary. Yeah. You're just going to put the words in the right order. All there.
This is the story about two ladies from Essex who want the term Essex girls scrubbed from the Oxford English Dictionary. The main thing about this story is that it gave the Sun a chance to recycle some old Essex girl jokes, including, what does the label in an Essex girl's knickers say? Next. That's interesting. The label in my pants says D. Mitchell Class 5C. And I've never lost a single pair. Fingers on buzzers, teams. What horror is this?
This is the Edstone, the heaviest suicide note in history, which, bizarrely, considering how much money we spent on it, looks as if it's made of foam. And somebody forgot to put it on the return of election expenses, and so the Labour Party's been fined.
Yes, you were quite right. The Edstone was quite expensive. Do you know what it cost exactly?
The general election.
It was... Yes, it was £7,614. Labour say they did originally get a receipt from the stonemasons, but it was too heavy to get in the car. The Spectator quoted a source as saying that when the image of the stone first appeared on TV, one Labour press officer started screaming. He stood in the office just screaming over and over again at the screen. I wonder if he had any inkling that that wasn't the low point for Labour. Do you think Ed took too much flack for losing that election, Chris?
He's a good man.
You can tell you were a vicar.
Bless you, my child.
Thank you.
I'm not sure you could quite so easily tell you were a vicar when you said about Ed.
Oh, yes.
I might go and punch him because he's a tosspot. He left the party in the state it's in.
He's a very modern vicar.
Yeah. That was the night of Brexit. I was very, very upset about Brexit.
Well, yes, Chris, how much do you blame Corbyn for the referendum result? You even thought Corbyn voted Leave, didn't you?
I think a lot of the arguments that Jeremy put helped the Leave campaign.
Do you still think he will go down in history as the man who broke the Labour Party, as you said?
Well, everything's to... The Labour Party's got to be mended, that's the truth, and I don't like Mrs May and the way she's leading the country, so I hope that Labour can pull itself together.
That's definitely not a straight answer to it.
That was about as skew-if an answer as I could possibly give.
Oh, Jeremy's in!
I think people know you think Jeremy Corbyn's an idiot. I mean, you've said it so many times. Why stop now?
But there's plenty of people who move in and out of the shadow cabinet, and they've said even worse things than Chris has. So don't try and restrict his future career.
I'm sorry.
Just by trying to get him to, you know, confirm what he's already said many times is pretty underhand. Leave him alone.
I'm a bit worried that Ian Hislop is supporting me. And,
I'm not.
You know,
Yes, this is the news that Labour has been fined for failing to declare a string of election expenses, including the cost of Ed Miliband's so-called Ed Stone. Here is the notorious object of ridicule, standing next to his disastrous stone. Since Ed Miliband's defeat, the Ed Stone has reportedly been destroyed and broken into pieces, as has the Labour Party. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's your next nightmare.
they've discovered a snail who goes the wrong way round. Because all snails' whirls go clockwise.
So why
apart
is it
from this one goes anti-clockwise.
Why is it wearing a hat?
Well, it's become a bit of a celebrity and doesn't want to be photographed by the...
Yes, he's absolutely right. This is the news that a 1 in a million snail has been found with a rare mutation that makes him a lefty, as his shell spirals the wrong way. What do you think the lefty's been called?
Jeremy.
Correct. In other news, what's this woman doing?
She's trying to surprise a Yorkshire Terrier because the kitchen's been redecorated and he doesn't know.
It's Mary Burgess is the woman. She's a dog hypnotist. What will she do for 60 quid?
She'll take your poodle back to a previous life.
Yeah, basically. An hour's hypnosis with naughty dogs.
Yeah.
She puts them in a trance and persuades them to behave better. Her techniques include massaging the dog's neck while speaking gently to the dog and asking it to imagine being on a nice walk in the park with all your friends.
I think that would work on me, to be fair.
And finally, what do you think dogs dream about?
Running through the fields, their hair brushing against the tops of dandelions as they sniff the sea
It's
air.
a very small dog.
Well, yeah. Could be running in a trench.
They probably dream about you. If you're their owner, that is. The reason we know this is thanks to Dr. Deirdre Barrett from Harvard Medical School. She says they're specifically dreaming about your face, your smell, and of pleasing or annoying you. Of course, sometimes they must be dreaming about chasing things like cats and rabbits and that sort of thing, as we can see from this classic clip. I imagine that dog has an active inner life.
Is that your dog dreaming about you?
Yes, because I chase my dog. No, I don't. I haven't got a dog.
Not now, you've chased them away.
Time now for the odd one out round. Larry the Downing Street cat, Napoleon Bonaparte, Michael Heseltine, and Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi.
Larry had a fight in Downing Street.
Oh.
With another cat,
You're getting warm,
a cat called Palmerston.
That's right.
There was a story this week. Michael Heseltine, and he's declaring he's shot a load of bats or birds or badgers or starlings.
Yeah, this is all in the right area.
Rhinos.
Yeah. Combat with...
Combat with birds. The Italian Prime Minister's the odd one out because he said to the pigeons of Rome, you've got an amnesty, nobody will kill you, we'll look after you.
You've got the right answer, but for the wrong reason. They've all fought with animals.
Yes.
Apart from the Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi, who had to deny fighting a fish at the G20 summit. And Larry the Downing Street cat, he's recently had a fight with Palmerston the Foreign Office cat.
Yeah.
How has Theresa May settled in with Larry?
She's wearing him as a coat.
More like shoes. Kitten heels.
She's not that keen on Larry. She said in an interview with The Times, we always had dogs at home rather than cats.
And they had to dream about her.
Yeah. Maybe that's her dog, trying to run through a wall. Napoleon. Do you know Napoleon's animal scuffle story? It's after he signed the Treaty of Tilsit in 1807. He was encouraged to do some celebratory rabbit shooting in a park with friends and colleagues. How many rabbits do you think were laid on for him to shoot?
75.
Higher.
175.
It was... It was 1,000. The Napoleonic general, Paul Thibault, who was there, said the rabbits turned the emperor's flank and attacked him frantically in the rear. They also piled themselves up between his legs and forced Napoleon, fairly exhausted, to retreat. More than the Austrian army could do. Michael Heseltine has admitted to killing 400 grey squirrels in his garden in just 9 months. He said, these foreign intruders may have a Walt Disney appeal in London parks, but to us they are public enemy number one and are shot without hesitation. He wants to watch that doesn't get taken out of context.
Could end up with a job in the cabinet.
Yes, they have all fought with animals apart from Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi, who had to deny fighting a fish at the G20 summit. Theresa May was shocked to be confronted by the slippery, thick-lipped, clammy, glass-eyed creature. She didn't think Michael Gove had been invited. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication the Slide Rule Gazette.
Yes.
And publications of the Slide Rule Circle.
I get this one.
A good magazine, but all of its readers are calculating bastards. And we start with World's Clumsiest Frog What in spectacular style.
Mates with Jeremy the Snail.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I love the way your circles go the other way.
It's in fact World's Clumsiest Frog missed out on lunch in spectacular style. Here he is in action.
I always wonder why people are filming these incidents before they happen. Maybe is it part of an experiment or something? Is it an experiment to see whether frogs can...
Do you think they got him drunk?
Get a pissed frog?
You see, that's what they do in laboratories, isn't it? Let's get all the frogs drunk. Next, for those of you who do not know what a slide rule is, what?
I have no idea what a slide rule is. So...
It's the thing you used to calculate on, before calculators.
OK, and calculators were before phones.
Turn to the centrefold.
Yeah.
Turn to the centrefold immediately for further guidance.
It is, for those of you who do not know what a slide rule is, first came the abacus, then came the slide rule, then came the calculator. People who use slide rules always felt superior to those who use calculators. Fine, but if you turn a slide rule upside down, you can't get it to make the word boobies. Next, what is 2016's most bizarre beauty trend?
High self-esteem.
Is it putting your top lip over your head and using it as a bathing cap?
It's gluing living plants to your nails. Here's what it looks like.
Oh, that's rather good.
So,
Well...
I don't know.
In what sense is that a living plant?
It's a succulent.
It looks like a fungal infection that's really on. Anyway, now you can say it with flowers. And finally, what celebrates the joy of monotony and repetition?
Dave.
I beg your pardon. BBC Parliament. See how you like it, yeah? Nothing wrong with Dave. Yes, it's new online channel. celebrates the joy of monotony and repetition. A new streaming video service, Napflix, aims to lull viewers to sleep by screening the least thrilling footage they can find. Programmes would include the 1964 documentary The Wonderful World of Tupperware, now available as a box set. The final scores are, Ian and Rose have 4 points, but Paul and Chris are the winners with 9.
Well done.
And I leave you with news that in Liverpool, on John McDonnell's orders, a security dog sinks its teeth into a rival's backside. After a fleet of Russian warships is spotted in the English Channel, Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson issues an immediate response. And as auditions begin for a remake of the film Tarka the Otter, one young hopeful waits to see if he's got the part. Good night.
Have I got news for you back at the same time next Friday? The interesting stories that didn't make the headlines. No such thing as the news, available now on BBC iPlayer. Who's got the cushiest job? Time to settle the dispute as the Friday night comedy continues next on BBC One with Still Game.